my God. Just a massive, massive exhale.
Let it out. Just let it all out.
Babes, welcome back. We love you. We see you. And honestly, between this reunion and our own lives this week, I am fully convinced that adulthood is just one long, never-ending group chat argument with snacks.
Yep. It is literally just a group text where everyone is mad and tired. And frankly, surviving this specific reunion and just surviving our work week in general requires immediate emotional support.
Desperately.
Which is exactly why I have Spacey Paloma's poured for us right now. I am talking extra jalapeño, heavy on the agave, heavily salted rims. Because we are operating on absolute fumes and spite today.
Thank God for you, and thank God for tequila, because the Snark squad needs to know right now I'm currently in a full-blown emotional spiral before we even get to the Bravo universe.
Oh, I know. I saw your text this morning.
Because summer is disappearing. It's vanishing into thin air. And I am not okay. I looked at the calendar today, and my chest actually tightened, like a mini panic attack in the kitchen.
You are so dramatic about the weather. I am. Because where did it go? It was just May. We were just talking about linen pants and sunscreen, and now we are staring down the barrel of, like, pumpkin spice lattes and seasonal depression.
A horror.
It is a horror. I am frantically trying to squeeze in, I kid you not, 6 different last-minute weekend plans into the span of 3 days, just to prove to myself that I lived this summer.
You're going to exhaust yourself.
I'm already exhausted just thinking about packing, but I refuse to let summer go. I will literally be wearing open-toed shoes until I lose a toe to frostbite, I swear.
Okay, see, this is the exact kind of emotional delusion that we watch on reality television. Let me get incredibly analytical about your seasonal panic for a second.
Right, go ahead. Audit my feelings.
I will, because I need to shadily point out the vast gaping chasm between what you claim you're going to miss versus your actual lived reality.
Oh, no. Here we go.
You say you mourn summer like a lost friend, right? But what you're actually mourning is the idealized concept of summer. Because let's look at the data.
The data.
Yes, the data of your daily life. You despise sweating. You complain about the ambient humidity ruining your blowout every single morning before the clinic.
Oh, the humidity is a personal attack on my hair.
And you hate sand with a passion that is usually reserved for, like, bad ex-boyfriends. So let's be profoundly honest with the listeners right now. I am secretly completely ready for cozy season.
You would be.
I am. And you should be too. Bring on the oversized sweaters. I actively need chunky knits right now to hide the quesadilla weight I've cultivated over the last 3 months.
Oh my God, the quesadilla weight is so real.
I want to be swaddled in cashmere and judgment, drinking hot beverages, and absolutely never worrying about whether my core is engaged at a restaurant.
Okay, first of all, I feel deeply attacked by your accuracy. The sweating is an egregious violation of my peace, I will admit that. But speaking of egregious violations of peace, yes. We desperately need to talk about the reality of our daily lives, because being a dentist is literally breaking my spirit this week. I need to share the highs and lows of the workday to ground us before we pivot to the television mess.
Please, lay it on me.
Okay, so my high, and please understand, it was a high only because the alternative was me weeping in front of my dental assistant, was this incredibly talkative patient.
Oh, I hate the talkers.
They were lovely, like deeply emotional, wanted to tell me their entire life story. And you know me, I love connecting. I thrive on that interpersonal dynamic.
You do. You're a chatty Cathy.
But you cannot, under any circumstances, try to have a deep, heart-to-heart conversation with me while both of my hands are aggressively inside of your mouth.
It's a structural nightmare.
I have a high-speed drill. I have sharp metal explorer hooks. I have a suction tube. And this person kept trying to physically articulate words around my knuckles to tell me the intricate details of their sister's messy divorce.
Well, you have a drill in their mouth.
Yes. I am actively dodging their tongue, trying not to accidentally amputate a uvula, just nodding and reacting with my eyes to the tea they're spilling. I was sweating through my scrubs.
That sounds like a massive liability. My high, on the other hand, was the absolute antithesis of your emotional chaos.
I'm already jealous.
It was a masterclass in clinical detachment. I had a crown prep today that was, objectively speaking, an architectural masterpiece.
Oh, bragging.
It was flawless, the margins were perfect, the tissue management was divine, and it brought me deep, sarcastic joy entirely because the patient was blessedly, beautifully silent the entire time.
A silent patient is a unicorn.
They just opened their mouth, allowed me to perform my mechanical magic without requiring any emotional labor, and then they left. I looked at the digital impression and felt like a world-renowned surgeon.
Wow. Good for you. Good for you and your perfect margins.
It's the little highly controlled things that give me the necessary superiority complex to get through the day. What was your low?
Oh my God. My low pushed me to the absolute psychological brink. I had a situation with a patient who was so terrified. And look, empathy, I get it. Dental phobia is so real and valid. But they completely and utterly regressed. They reverted to the emotional state of a toddler. Jaw clamped shut, shaking their head, fully ignoring my gentle, trauma-informed coaxing.
The clamp down.
Yes. I spent 20 uninterrupted minutes acting like a crisis hostage negotiator, just trying to get them to allow me to look at a single cavity on a molar. I walked into the break room afterward, sat in a plastic chair, and just stared at a blank wall for 10 solid minutes, questioning why I ever took the debts.
The hostage negotiation phase is precisely the threshold where I check out mentally, which brings me perfectly to my low.
Yippee.
There is a very exact, highly specific moment every Thursday afternoon, usually around 2:43 p.m., where my brain just completely unplugs from the mainframe.
Just a hard reset.
The connection is severed. But my physical body has to keep generating revenue. Today, I was doing a routine composite filling, and my physical form was executing all the correct mechanical motions, but my mind was entirely dissociated.
Where'd you go?
I was floating somewhere in the upper corner of the operatory, analyzing the socioeconomic implications of Bravo reunion seating charts. I was completely dead behind the eyes. Just an automaton in scrubs.
Muscle memory taking the wheel.
Exactly. And honestly, that deep existential dissociation is exactly why I need quesadillas to survive.
Yes.
Well,
oh my God, yes. The Snark squad needs to understand this fundamental truth right now. Quesadillas do not get the respect they deserve in the culinary hierarchy.
they are heavily underrated.
They are the greatest emotional support food ever invented by humankind. I need you to just close your eyes and think about the sheer unadulterated joy of the perfect cheese pull.
The structural elasticity.
Yes. When you pull a perfectly brown triangle away from the plate and the cheese stretches like a warm, comforting blanket of dairy, it is literal emotional healing. It cures sadness.
It cures a dissociative Thursday at the clinic.
It is a warm hug for your damaged soul. Whether it's Oaxaca, Monterey Jack, a sharp cheddar blend, it doesn't matter. Melted fat and carbs is pure perfection.
Okay, let's unpack this properly, because while I appreciate your poetic response to melted dairy, we need to analytically rank the components. We need objective truths here.
Okay, food critic, let's hear it.
Let's rank the protein integrations. Chicken is the safe, reliable standby. It's the Honda Civic of quesadilla fillings. It will get you where you need to go, but it's not thrilling.
Fair. Veggie.
Veggie is for when you want to aggressively lie to yourself about your cardiovascular health while consuming 1,000 calories of pure cheese.
So true.
But steak, a perfectly marinated, thinly sliced carne asada with a slight char, that is the elite tier. That is a luxury vehicle.
The steak is top tier.
And as for the ultimate objective ruling on dipping sauces, we must be ruthless. Salsa is entirely too watery. It immediately compromises and ruins the structural integrity of a toasted tortilla.
Soggy tortilla is a tragedy.
Well, sour cream is acceptable for thermal cooling, but it lacks any real flavor complexity. The undisputed king, the only correct answer, is a perfectly seasoned, slightly chunky guacamole.
The guac.
The mechanism of the monounsaturated fat from the avocado interacting with the saturated fat from the cheese, it's culinary mathematics.
You are speaking directly to my spirit right now. Honestly, babes, quesadillas have never, ever let us down.
Never.
They work for a stress lunch, a lazy dinner, and they are the undisputed champion of the midnight post-bar snack.
Which, tragically, naturally transitions us to the dark reality of our current biological existence.
Oh, God. The hangover.
The biological betrayal of our 30s.
It is a betrayal.
Yeah.
We are spiraling so hard into the realities of adulthood right now because a hangover no longer means you just chug a blue Gatorade, eat a greasy bacon cheeseburger, and you're totally fine by noon.
No, the mechanics of aging are incredibly cruel.
Hangovers now require a minimum of 2 to 3 business days of intensive recovery. I went out for a friend's birthday on Friday night, and I swear to you, by Tuesday morning, I was still standing in my bathroom trying to figure out why the vanity light was being so loud.
It is mathematically absurd and fundamentally unfair. The recovery period takes significantly longer than the actual event. You consume toxins for, 4 hours?
Barely.
and your body actively penalizes you for 72 hours. It is an extortionate physiological exchange rate.
Extortion.
And navigating this constant state of recovery makes me question if a full restorative night's sleep is just a myth designed to keep the employed working.
A capitalist myth. I have to ask you, and I am sincerely asking the Snark Squad too, are we just exhausted, or is this literally just our personality now?
And our baseline.
Like, is perma-tired just who we fundamentally are?
Yeah.
Have we lost our vitality to dental charting software and reality TV?
We are permanently fatigued, slightly cynical, and fueled entirely by agave and the chaos of others. But babes, enough about summer ending, dental exhaustion, quesadilla propaganda, and our permanent fatigue.
Yes, let's get into the mess.
Let's get into the Valley reunion, where friendships are hanging by a literal thread, producer manipulation is at an all-time high, and somebody is about to pull out text message receipts from 6 months ago.
Oh my God, the receipts. Let's start right there with the central beating heart of the drama from this entire episode. The Danny Booko after-party incident.
The barefoot incident.
I was having a visceral, full-body emotional reaction to the visual that the cast painted for us. Just close your eyes and imagine the scene. Jasmine and Melissa's gorgeous wedding wraps up. The cast is migrating to the hotel for the after-party.
A classic Bravo setup.
Right. And Danny Booko, a grown man with 4 children, is just missing in action. And where does Jesse finally locate him? Barefoot. In a tank top. In the communal hotel lobby bar, heavily consuming alcohol and watching a FIFA soccer match.
The lack of footwear is staggering.
Barefoot. In a public, heavily trafficked hotel lobby. The germ exposure alone makes me want to weep into my sterile gloves. But the sheer disrespect of removing your footwear at a public bar while your wife is upstairs wrangling the logistics of your life. I was literally screaming at my television screen.
The profound lack of spatial awareness and basic societal hygiene required to remove your shoes in a commercial space is certainly a massive red flag.
It's unhinged.
But let's look past the footwear and focus on the mechanics of reality TV storytelling here. What is truly fascinating is how the cast aggressively attempted to weaponize this pathetic visual against Nia.
Yes, the text message.
Let's analytically break down the exact phrasing of the text message receipt that Nia brought to the reunion couch, because in semantic warfare, precision is everything.
She came prepared.
The cast, heavily led by the producers, tried to spin this sinister narrative that Nia was intentionally hiding the party from Danny. They painted her as this manipulative puppeteer orchestrating a massive cover-up.
Right, to protect his image.
But Nia, fully prepared, produced the exact text she sent to Jesse. Quote, "Hey, Daniel and I are having a night in at the hotel. Please don't call Daniel and encourage him to come to the after party." Unquote.
But wait, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. Let me push back.
Go ahead.
Because Nia knows exactly what show she is on.
Mm-hmm.
She knows she's on a reality television show where the currency is drama. She knows Danny looks bad when he drinks.
Very bad.
Isn't this text message just a highly calculated PR move?
Yeah.
Like, couldn't the cast be slightly right? She's not just, quote-unquote, protecting her piece. She's actively protecting their brand by isolating him from the cameras.
It is a fair challenge, but let me introduce a better framework for understanding Nia's strategy. What Nia is executing via that text message is the equivalent of a controlled burn in forestry.
A controlled burn.
She is lighting a small, contained fire, admitting they are staying in, and asking Jesse to back off to prevent Danny from going downstairs and burning down their entire 10-year reputation in front of the cameras.
Wow.
Is it PR? Yes. But it's also basic marital survival. Look at the psychology of her position. She has 4 young children, including twins. She is dealing with postpartum realities.
Is exhausted.
She knows her husband lacks an internal stopping mechanism when surrounded by enablers. Sending a text that says, "Please don't encourage him," is not some sinister isolation tactic. It is a desperate attempt to regulate his nervous system by proxy because she knows he can't do it himself.
Okay, when you put it like that, the controlled burn, it makes total sense. And it honestly makes me want to defend her even more passionately.
She deserves the defense.
Because anyone who has ever been married, or even just in a long-term relationship with someone who gets sloppy when they drink, understands that text.
Exactly.
You're exhausted. You finally have a child-free night in a hotel bed.
Yeah.
You know that if his hyper-masculine friends text him, his ego is going to flare up, he's going to get massive FOMO, and he's going to stumble downstairs.
Drink way too much tequila.
Yes. And roll back into your room at 3 a.m., turning all the lights on and being wildly annoying. It is boundary setting.
It completely dismantles the cast's narrative. But what we really need to examine is Danny's reaction to this being exposed.
Oh, Danny's reaction was infuriating.
During the reunion, Danny finally admits, albeit begrudgingly, that he uses alcohol as a coping mechanism for stress and anxiety. But pay attention to the pivot.
The pivot to Jax.
Immediately, almost reflexively, he pivots to blaming Jax Taylor for creating a false narrative. This reveals a crucial psychological mechanism, the historical scapegoat.
Yes, he needs someone worse than him in the room.
Why can't Danny simply own his lack of behavioral control? Because as long as Jax Taylor exists in their universe, Danny can point to him and say, well, I'm not as bad as the literal sociopath.
He exhibits this intense Napoleon complex the second the red light on the camera goes on.
It's so transparent.
Nia tries to gently de-escalate him, and Danny puffs his chest out, starts performing for the lenses, and completely steamrolls his wife's cues. He deflects his own inability to manage his anxiety onto Jax's historical toxicity.
Which is such weak behavior.
It is so deeply frustrating to watch, because he is essentially using Jax as a human shield for his own terrible choices.
Yeah.
And that dynamic forces us to seamlessly transition right into Brittany's massive, towering projection.
Oh, the projection was blinding.
I need to unpack the unaired Halloween footage, because my jaw physically unhinged and hit the floor when Andy rolled that tape.
It was a bombshell.
I was so outraged on Nia's behalf. We see this supposedly unseen footage where Brittany pulls Nia aside in a dark corner of a party and gives her this stark, dramatic, breathless warning not to protect Danny.
Let's dissect the sheer, unadulterated hypocrisy of that unaired scene, and also the producer mechanics of why it was held back until the reunion.
They held it back on purpose.
Producers love to keep a piece of damning footage in the vault to spring as a semantic trap. Brittany's sitting there in her Halloween costume, earnestly comparing Nia's defense of a barefoot, FIFA-watching, annoying Danny to how she, Brittany, spent years protecting Jax Taylor.
The false equivalence is staggering.
We need to clearly delineate the difference here. There is a massive, fundamental difference between Danny being an irritating, sloppy husband who can't handle his liquor in a hotel lobby and Jax Taylor.
A canyon of difference.
Jax is a genuinely toxic, psychologically destructive force of nature who actively gaslights, cheats on, and sabotages every single human being in his blast radius.
Thank you. That is exactly it. Danny's embarrassing. Jax is dangerous. To compare the two is profoundly insulting to the actual reality of Nia's marriage.
It's insulting to everyone's intelligence.
And what drives me absolutely insane is that at the reunion, Brittany tries to completely backpedal.
Yeah.
She sits there on the couch shaking her head and says, I'm not comparing them, I never compare them.
While we are watching her do it?
Literally while the high-definition footage of her doing exactly that is playing.
Eh.
But here is my biggest emotional issue with Brittany in this scenario. Why on earth did she sit on this simmering, toxic resentment for 6 entire months?
Because it makes for good TV.
From a Halloween party in October all the way to the reunion taping, she just kept this anger bottled up, incubating it, just to unleash it for maximum camera time. It feels so deeply unsupportive, so antithetical to the girl persona she tries to portray.
Because it isn't actually about Nia. It is performative concern masking deep-seated psychological projection.
It's more about that.
Brittany's looking at Nia, and she isn't seeing Nia. She is seeing a mirror reflecting her own past decade of denial. She is aggressively attacking the reflection because she is utterly incapable of processing her own trauma regarding Jax.
That makes so much sense.
And if we want to talk about the mechanics of aggressive trauma projection, we have no choice but to follow this exact psychological thread directly to Lala Kent.
Oh my God, Lala.
Oh.
My blood pressure just spiked hearing her name.
Because Lala takes Brittany's localized projection, absorbs it, and amplifies it to a completely unhinged, deafening volume.
She stepped in as Janet's bulldog.
She calls Nia's text message a complete red flag.
I was so incredibly furious. And then Lala has the audacity to double down on that horrendous, vile comment she made on Watch What Happens Live.
Remind the Snark squad what she said.
She literally looks Nia in the eye on national television and tells her to take her newborn twins and her toddlers and leave Danny to go, quote-unquote, live a good life. How dare she?
It was wildly inappropriate.
I have such intense, overwhelming empathy for Nia in that specific moment. Nia is sitting on that couch, beautifully dressed, having to calmly defend her 10-year marriage against someone who does not know her day-to-day reality at all.
Lala knows nothing about their actual dynamic.
Lala swoops into this cast for 5 minutes, reads one out-of-context text message, and suddenly decides she is a divorce attorney and a moral authority. It's disgusting behavior.
It is entirely out of line, but we can decode exactly why she is doing it. Here is my analytical read on the Lala situation.
Break it down.
Lala is projecting the severe, unresolved trauma from her objectively abusive, deeply toxic relationship with her ex onto Nia's perfectly normal, albeit flawed, marriage.
She is seeing Randall Emmett in every man.
Lala missed the massive, glaring red flags in her own life for years because she was blinded by the lifestyle. So now her hypervigilance is in overdrive. She sees a red flag in a completely mundane text message because her nervous system is primed to expect betrayal.
She's projecting her own misread flags.
Exactly. But her behavior on this show is stunningly hypocritical. Let's look at the concept of asymmetrical transparency in reality television.
Oh, I love that term, asymmetrical transparency.
Lala is sitting on that reunion couch, aggressively demanding raw, unfiltered, painful honesty from Nia. She's demanding that Nia expose every single crack in her marital foundation for the cameras.
Yep.
Yet, Lala herself has fiercely protected and hidden her entire actual life all season.
She hid everything.
We know nothing about her current reality, her legal battles, or her actual day-to-day existence, yet she feels entitled to aggressively audit a woman with a decade-long partnership.
But hold on, let me stop you there. Doesn't a reality star owe us their truth?
They do, in theory?
Like, Nia signed up for a show about messy couples in the Valley. If her husband is a mess, shouldn't she have to show it? Isn't Lala just acting as an audience surrogate, demanding the truth we all signed up to watch?
It is a valid counter-argument regarding the social contract of reality TV. Yes, you owe the audience authenticity, but Lala loses the moral high ground to demand it when she refuses to provide it herself.
Rules for thee, but not for me.
Exactly. It's the hypocrisy of the messenger, not necessarily the message. And furthermore, Lala is functioning here as a proxy. She is doing Janet's dirty work.
100%.
But honestly, Nia simply outclassed them all. Nia's emotional regulation is vastly superior. She doesn't raise her voice, she articulates her boundaries clearly, and she refuses to let them drag her into the mud.
She was flawless on that couch.
The rest of the cast is enraged because they cannot provoke a reaction out of her. They are playing checkers, throwing cheap shots, and Nia is operating on a completely different intellectual plane.
She really is. Nia is sitting there with such immense grace, and the rest of them look like rabid dogs barking at a very expensive fence. It's wild to witness.
It really is.
But babes, transitioning from Nia and Danny's marriage, which, despite the noise, is clearly surviving and rooted in actual love, we have to look at a marriage that suffered a complete structural collapse.
A total demolition.
The absolute mess that is Michelle, Jesse, and now the introduction of Lacey. We have to talk about the awkward triangle on the couch.
Awkward is an incredibly generous understatement. It was a terrifying masterclass in passive-aggressive posturing and weaponized affection.
Weaponized affection. That is exactly what it was.
Let's break down the mechanics of the PDA fight that erupted on that couch, because it tells us everything we need to know about why they divorced.
It was so deeply uncomfortable.
You have Michelle claiming, quite emotionally, that she begged Jesse for physical affection and intimacy for years during their marriage, implying he coldly withheld it.
Which is awful if true.
Then you have Jesse, who seems completely devoid of any foundational emotional intelligence, casually claiming he is simply, quote-unquote, more affectionate with Lacey because they have a better dynamic.
The cruelty of saying that in front of his ex-wife.
And then he literally looks at his ex-wife, the mother of his child, and tells her to toughen the F up.
I gasped. I literally physically gasped at the television. The callousness of that statement.
It was jarring.
But then, and this is where my emotions were so deeply conflicted, the new girlfriend, Lacey, steps in. Part of me, the loyalist part, wanted to hate her on Michelle's behalf.
Natural instinct.
But I found myself actively cheering for Lacey. She defends Jesse initially, trying to be the supportive partner, but then she immediately spins around and puts him right in his place.
She checked him immediately.
She looks at Jesse dead in the eye and says you should never talk to her. Or me. like that.
Oh my God. It was a brilliant, beautiful display of a woman completely refusing to let a man disrespect the mother of his child in front of her. She established her boundary instantly. It was a fascinating power dynamic to observe. It was a very calculated, highly intelligent move by Lacey.
She won the moment.
In one sentence, she established herself as the most reasonable, mature party in the room, while simultaneously checking Jesse's inflated ego and signaling to Michelle that she is not the enemy.
Exactly. I'm not your enemy. He is the problem.
But let's look at the deeper psychological analysis here, because we cannot ignore the actual root of Michelle and Jesse's marital collapse.
Okay, let's dig into it.
There is heavy community speculation rooted in context clues from the season that Michelle might have suffered from severe, untreated postpartum depression after their daughter Isabella was born.
Which is so incredibly common.
We need to understand the mechanism of postpartum depression. It doesn't just make you sad. It can fundamentally kill physical intimacy.
Complete.
Emotional chasm. And because Jesse and Michelle completely lacked the psychological vocabulary or the tools to communicate through that medical reality, Jesse internalized her depression as personal rejection.
He made it about his ego.
He grew resentful, she grew isolated, and the structural integrity of the marriage fractured beyond repair.
That braced my heart so profoundly. If she was suffering silently in the dark with postpartum, and he was just taking it as an insult to his ego and pulling away, that is tragic. That is the saddest thing I can imagine for a young mother.
It is undeniably tragic. However, we must remain objective. Let me throw some necessary shade to balance the scales of justice here.
Okay, balance the scales.
Michelle plays the victim exceptionally well, almost to a manipulative degree. She sits on that reunion couch, practically demanding sympathy for his lack of hand-holding and affection, completely glossing over the massive, undeniable fact that she was the one caught having a secret emotional and potentially physical affair.
Oh, right.
You cannot, in good conscience, demand public sympathy for a lack of marital intimacy when you are actively texting another man and plotting an exit strategy. The revisionist history she's attempting to write is staggering.
Oof, that is true. You can't play the neglected wife card when you already checked out of the marriage and into someone else's DMs.
The accountability is sitting at absolute zero on both sides of that couch.
Well, speaking of complete communication breakdowns, zero accountability, and deep-rooted psychological issues, we naturally have to pivot our attention to Kristen Doute and Luke.
A case study in dysfunction.
Because Kristen's breakdown on that couch had me surprisingly emotional.
It was certainly a theatrical display of emotional dysregulation.
It was intense. She was sobbing, shaking, and she actually gave what felt like, to me, very real, very raw apologies.
They were panicked apologies.
She apologized directly to Jasmine for completely ignoring her feelings and making her feel invisible throughout the season. And she even apologized to Janet for questioning the timing of her trauma reveal. It truly felt like we were watching a woman who was genuinely, viscerally terrified of losing her entire support system.
What you were watching was the activation of a profound fear of abandonment. It is her core psychological operating system.
She's desperate not to be exiled.
But let's analyze Andy Cohen's blunt intervention here, because as the host, he delivered the most clinically sound advice of the entire night.
Andy was not playing around.
He looks at Kristen and Luke and flat out tells them they need to return to couples therapy immediately. But what is truly fascinating and deeply alarming is their admission regarding the nature of their counseling.
Oh my God, yes.
The pastor.
They admit they're only seeing a church pastor for counseling, not a licensed, psychologically trained therapist.
That is such a massive, flashing red flag to me. Listen, I respect people's faith, but you are dealing with deep, ingrained, decades-long behavioral patterns.
Decades of reality TV trauma. You are dealing with severe past trauma, explosive communication breakdowns, and fundamental incompatibility. A well-meaning pastor telling you to hold hands and pray on it is not going to physically rewire the neural pathways in your brain.
It's just not.
It is not going to heal an activated amygdala. You need a professional with a master's degree in clinical psychology, not a degree in divinity, to unpack this level of dysfunction.
Precisely. We need to explain the mechanism of this choice. They are actively avoiding the actual painful, rigorous work of psychological deconstruction by hiding behind the softer, less confrontational veil of religious counseling.
It's a shield.
It allows them to feel like they are doing the work without actually challenging their toxic behaviors, and the relationship status itself is glaringly, dangerously unstable.
It was hard to watch them sit next to each other.
Kristen is practically vibrating on the couch with the fear of abandonment, and then Jasmine delivers this deeply shady, highly calculated reassurance.
The read of the century.
And Kristen is crying, and Jasmine looks directly at her and says, "The three of us will never leave you." She specifically deliberately names herself, Zach, and Brittany,
pointedly leaving him out.
surgically omitting Luke, who is sitting right next to Kristen.
Oh my God, the sheer freezing shade of that. It was so incredibly subtle, but the omission was so loud it echoed.
It was brilliantly executed.
She essentially looked Kristen in the eyes and said, "Your friends are your forever family, but this man is a temporary visitor in your life." I felt that read deep in my bones.
It was cold.
And speaking of deep emotional reads, that segues us perfectly into the final major heavy conflict of the night. Janet.
The trauma reveal.
Janet finally reveals, on camera, her history of past trauma and sexual assault. And I had such a profound, sympathetic reaction to that moment.
It was a very heavy revelation.
It completely recontextualized her entire personality for me. It explains her heavily guarded nature. It explains her instant defensive, almost aggressive instincts, especially around chaotic men.
It provides the context.
When you survive a violation like that, your nervous system is permanently altered. Your fight-or-flight response is broken. I felt so much empathy for the pain she has carried all these years.
I will absolutely acknowledge the validity of her trauma. It is horrific, and it completely shapes her psychological landscape and her interpersonal hypervigilance.
Thank you.
However, I am immediately pivoting to the analytical, shady side of this narrative.
Oh boy.
Because we need to establish a very clear rule for reality television and for life. Trauma is not a blanket excuse for terrible abusive behavior toward others.
Okay, that's fair.
Just because Janet has suffered immensely does not grant her diplomatic immunity to be awful, manipulative, or physically aggressive to the people around her. It absolutely does not excuse her decision to throw a glass of water directly into Danny's face at the finale party.
But wait, let me push back. Let's look at the mechanics of what happened.
Oh.
If we just establish that her nervous system is altered and she is hypervigilant around chaotic men, and Danny is acting chaotic and drunk in her personal space, isn't her throwing the water just a trauma response?
The trauma response does not justify physical assault.
But isn't it a panicked attempt to create distance? Can't we give her grace for that?
We can understand the origin of the trigger without excusing the action. Two things can exist simultaneously. We can hold space for her pain, and we can absolutely call out her lack of physical boundary control.
Okay, I see that.
And Andy proves this point by running a poll right there on the reunion couch. He asks the cast who thinks Janet was wrong for throwing the water.
The show of hands.
The data is clear. The entire cast, literally everyone except Janet, her proxy Michelle, and her husband Jason agreed that Janet was completely out of line. The consensus was overwhelming.
Literally everyone raised their hand.
Yet Janet sat there, completely unbothered, refusing to yield an inch, standing firmly by her actions simply because she felt Danny was, quote-unquote, making a fool of himself.
She really did double down.
Her complete inability to take accountability while actively hiding behind her trauma to justify a physical escalation is incredibly toxic. Let's talk about the producer's pet phenomenon.
She definitely thinks she's a producer.
Janet acts like she is an extension of the production team. She thinks she can orchestrate the drama, wind people up, and direct the narrative without getting her hands dirty. And the one time she loses control and gets her hands dirty, she immediately plays the victim card. It is manipulative.
It is wild to watch her operate. She really does treat the rest of the cast like chess pieces. It's fascinating and terrifying.
She's very good at it.
But before we spiral entirely into the dark, analytical abyss of this cast's psychology, we do have to mention this celebratory outro.
The palate cleanser.
Because Bravo actually gave us a tiny, microscopic sliver of wholesome content to end this deeply exhausting mess.
You?
Jasmine and her new wife, Melissa, come out to toast their marriage.
Yes, a lovely, touching moment. And then they immediately pivot to asking Jason to be their sperm donor on national television.
What?
Because why not monetize and broadcast the intimate reproductive process for Bravo rating?
I mean, it was weirdly sweet, but also so incredibly chaotic. It was the most Bravo way to handle family planning. Like, let's just ask at the reunion.
Very efficient.
And Zach's boyfriend Benji making a little cameo with the champagne glasses. It was a cute, high-energy way to wrap up what has been a deeply heavy, emotionally draining season.
Unnecessary.
Which means, looking back at the entire night, we need to hand out some final verdicts. If you had to award a trophy for the absolute best reunion performance, the person who navigated this psychological warfare the best, who gets it?
Objectively, it has to be Lacey.
Really, the new girlfriend.
Yes. For a rookie to step onto a reunion stage, an environment designed to break seasoned veterans and handle that incredibly toxic, volatile dynamic between Michelle and Jesse with such precision, it was remarkable.
She didn't break a sweat.
Her emotional regulation was the only thing keeping that side of the couch from combusting. She was composed, she defended her partner, but she absolutely refused to be a doormat.
I completely agree. Honestly, a star is born. And if we are talking about the best read of the night, we already touched on it, but it goes to Jasmine.
Without a doubt.
Delivering the line, "The three of us will never leave you," while surgically excluding Luke, who was sitting literal inches away, was a masterclass in psychological warfare. It was so icy.
Flawless victory.
Now, who is the biggest villain? I feel like we are going to universally agree on this.
Undoubtedly. The data points directly to Lala.
100%. She was just too much, inserting herself into Nia and Danny's 10-year marriage, making these sweeping, destructive, unearned declarations.
Acting like the producer's attack dog.
Exactly. She weaponized therapy terminology to deflect from her own intense secrecy, guilty of being the ultimate villain.
Now, regarding receipts versus revisionist history, let's look at the evidence. Who actually brought the receipts?
Nia.
Flawless execution goes to Nia. She didn't just talk around the issue or rely on hearsay. She literally pulled out her phone and read the exact text message to Jesse, verbatim.
It was beautiful.
Receipt delivered. Narrative destroyed.
And the award for revisionist history goes to Brittany, caught in a trap of her own making. She tried to claim she wasn't comparing Jax to Danny, and the producers instantly rolled the unaired footage, proving she did exactly that.
Caught red-handed by the editors.
Now let's convene friendship court.
Yeah.
I need your analytical ruling on the dynamic between Lala and Janet because it is highly suspicious.
My analytical verdict is that their friendship is entirely transactional.
Interesting. Transactional how?
Janet actively uses Lala to do her dirty work. It's a very specific, recognizable dynamic. Janet plays the delicate, traumatized flower while winding Lala up with whispered complaints and sending her out to attack the cast.
The puppet master.
It's a symbiotic relationship based on mutual manipulation. Janet flatters Lala's ego by making her feel like a protector, and in return, Lala acts as her attack dog, securing them both maximum screen time. They are both guilty of using each other.
Guilty. Lock them up in Bravo jail. Honestly, their dynamic is so dark.
It's effective, but dark.
All right. Before we wrap, we need to look into our crystal balls and predict the future of this social experiment. Based on human behavior, which friendships are officially, permanently deceased.
Based on the behavioral data presented at this reunion, Kristen and Janet are completely finished.
Done. Cooked.
There is no coming back from the level of mistrust, weaponized trauma, and public humiliation that occurred. The bridge isn't just burned, the ashes have been collected and scattered into the ocean.
Fully agree. Now, which couple is secretly doomed? It breaks my heart because I always root for her, but it is Kristen and Luke.
The data supports that conclusion.
The writing is on the wall, the physical tension on the couch, the church therapy that clearly isn't addressing the root issues, her intense fear of abandonment. They are speaking two entirely different emotional languages. I give it 6 months tops.
It is a structural failure waiting to happen. Now, who returns next season with a brand new, highly curated personality?
Well, this is easy.
Jesse. He has seen the audience reaction. He knows he looks terrible. Next season, he is going to attempt a massive, calculated rebrand.
Oh, for sure.
He will try to play the perfectly healed, deeply affectionate, evolved boyfriend to Lacey, purely despite Michelle. It will be incredibly performative, completely unnatural, and I will analyze every single second of it.
Oh, he is going to be doing so much aggressive, performative hand-holding. It will be nauseating.
It's going to be unwatchable in the best way.
Okay, my final, completely ridiculous but entirely possible prediction for Season 4. Hear me out.
I'm listening.
Michelle and Jesse end up in a massive fight over custody of Lacey.
I'm going to need you to explain the psychological logic of this immediately.
Think about the mechanics of their dynamic.
Yeah.
Michelle hates Jesse, but she weirdly seemed to respect Lacey's backbone by the end of the reunion.
She did look impressed when Lacey yelled at him.
Michelle loves having a proxy to fight Jesse. I can completely see Michelle trying to strategically befriend Lacey just to undermine Jesse's control, and suddenly it's a bizarre psychological tug of war for Lacey's loyalty.
That is wow.
It's so incredibly messy, which means it is 100% possible on this network.
Whoa. The psychological warfare of the ex-wife, befriending the new girlfriend specifically to destabilize the ex-husband, it is Machiavellian. It is brilliant. I don't hate the theory at all.
Right. This show is just a sociological experiment with better lighting, I swear to God.
It really is.
But sadly, we have to wrap this up for today. Before we go, Snark Squad, we need you to hit the comments. We want to know, what was the high and the low of your workday today? Please validate our dental trauma.
We also demand to know your objective stance on quesadillas. Do you agree that they are structurally and emotionally one of the greatest foods ever invented? And what is your required meat to sauce ratio? The data is important to me.
And the ultimate question we need answered to feel less alone in the world. Are adult hangovers actually getting mathematically worse, or are we all just permanently, existentially tired?
I think we all know the answer. We will leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over regarding the reality TV machine.
Leave them with something to think about.
With all the off-camera drama constantly bleeding into the narrative, will the cameras ever actually pick back up on the Jax and Brittany fallout, or are the producers intentionally keeping it hidden in the vault to manufacture a completely sanitized alternate reality for Season 4? Question the edit. Always question the edit.
Oh, the manipulation, the layers of deception. Babes, we love you so much. Drink your water, eat your cheese, take your vitamins, stay messy, stay cozy, and we'll see you on the Snark side.